Okay, my name is Enrique Jaime Kolbeck. I am air traffic controller. I work on Mexico Airport, International Airport, named Benito Juarez. I'm a controller since 25 years ago. And the Mexico Control Center have sightings with a lot of aircrafts and this kind of phenomena. They don't have a specially way to appear, just appears suddenly and frequently crossing tracks of the flights, the flight of the exposures on our screen, and sometimes goes with them closer, and the pilots scare or sometimes nervous first and then scare, give us information about it. Who is that kind of object flying with us? Or require traffic information in case that this phenomenon pass and happen very quickly in front of them. Because we don't have any kind of control about it, this kind of phenomenon, of course, and the pilots definitely feels in some way, ¿cómo se dice inseguros? Insecure, yes, about the control that they has around of the aircraft. Flying saucers. In the past, to hear that in the past results very funny. Today it's very serious for us, especially after the incident that we have with Aeromexico Fly 109, I think. Well, but 4 years ago, more or less, we have an incident very dangerous with an unidentified object flying in a static fly over the World Trade Center building. It's a very important building for city. It's located in the final track of the runway the final of the runway is 5 on the Mexico Airport. This fly, we have working with them and coming from Guadalajara to Mexico, and I passed the control of this aircraft to the other controller in a point named Paz de G. That point is the beginning of the one of the arrivals that we have there for runway 5 precisely, and we saw in the screen two echoes very close of the aircraft in that moment, but very suddenly and quickly, and disappear immediately. We have radar contact apparently more or less 30 seconds, no more. And the aircraft, it doesn't report nothing about it. I mean, the pilot doesn't report nothing. Then we knew about that this aircraft in the final approach track, in the final turn, has some kind of trash or was hitting, how do you say, golpeado? Hitting in his principal landing gear in the right side, I think. I'm not sure. For this kind of situation, this kind of objects. It's important that you know that we received information 2 hours ago, more or less, by different ways. And information about that people that was watching that phenomenon flying static over the building. Then authorities that was answering about that, what kind of aircraft is flying there. Of course, nobody knows nothing about it, knew nothing about it. And then we know something about that the hitting of this object, and was very dangerous for us, for the responsibility that represents, but because we need to know everything that be flying in our airspace. We have the pilot's reports and sightings at the same time in the radar.
You do?
Yes, we had reports, a lot of reports about objects flying in the very close to the final track, about 5 or 4 miles on final of the runway 05. It's very curious that we have information about that point precisely. In that week we had about 7 reports of pilots at different times to have traffic inside, unknown traffic of course. And it's important that you know that appears in or that things appear in our screen shows like an point in a digital way, and they moves definitely very, very fast. The common aircrafts, I mean, talking about now Boeing 727, Boeing 757, moves in different way, and of course his speed is completely different. It's very reduced in that condition, and when you have the view of the airspace and the screen, the distance between that kind of moments represents around 20 or 30 miles in a second. That is very weird, and of course nothing compared with the common aircrafts, and they turns almost 90 degrees in a second or in a half second. March 4, 1992, we detect 15 objects west side of the Toluca airport, that is very close of our international airport at 50 miles more or less. Then July 28 of 1994, we have almost a collision or something that we can name in that way with a domestic flight of Aeromexico 129, commanded by the pilot Raimundo Cervantes Ruano. We have a lot of sightings reported by the pilots that give us information about the weird traffic or something, bright lights, and different times. He said sometimes we have a bright light, very bright in front of us, flying opposite, or is static in a static flight, and we have the same detection there. So this kind of phenomenon appears sometimes 12 times a day, 12 times at the month or at the week, and you don't have information about these objects 3 or 4 months, and then appear suddenly and frequently. The Aeromexico Flight 904 has another almost collision that was reported for the pilot Corso, the Capitan Corso, at 11:30 in the morning, and we detect that object on a radar suddenly, just for a moment. Turning in this way, or 90 degrees turn, or descend immediately in a diagonal way to very close to the mountains. No, that is very different, completely different. And completely different, of course, of the military aircrafts also. This phenomenon, of course, doesn't count with a flight plan. Nobody knows nothing about them. Appears when they want to appear. It is very dangerous sometimes. The pilots turns to be hungry or scared and require immediately information. What is that? And we have information. What was the aircraft doing? Many things. A lot of pilots in reports when immediately to have a sighting, do have problems with his instruments of flight, precisely the electronic instruments. September 15 of 1994, we have a detection about 5 hours more or less on a radar and a new equipment that we believe that that equipment was working in not a good way, because it's not human that you have detection by 5 hours of the same object and apparently without movement. Well, we concur with the technical persons of radar in our country that the radar system was working well. Around 5 miles, 2 miles in some cases. It's very close for an aircraft and dangerous, because the pilot doesn't know nothing about that what is going to do the other pilot, well, in this case. No? And a Mexican pilot has had a 35 experience with 3 objects that they flying around there, around them, and 2 of these objects flying on top of the wings of the aircraft, and the other fly in front of them in the cockpit cabin, then goes down and he can, ¿cómo se dice golpear? Hit in the aircraft, the small aircraft. We have, or until I know, the radar registered that information, have registered about that information, and had the information about the objects in another place, then close to the aircraft, then only one object, and in that moment precisely the pilot reports that he can't control where all the aircraft, the movement. I mean, apparently these objects is taking him to somewhere, I don't know. But apparently, fortunately for us, or for them, they live in his aircraft and the pilot very close to the volcanoes, precisely.